The legend is something immaterial, and yet it carries a massive set of information along with it. The legend is something that embodies and adds a face to the idea that it contains. It gives it an almost physical form and grants it strength. In this video, I will try to explain what I mean by the legend, and why it is important, and how to use it in activism and politics, and why it is used in the first place. How a legend is born is vital to its lifespan. We have legends of King Arthur and his knights, a set of stories that convey a way of thought and values. We also have the legend of Robin Hood that serves a similar function. But how is a legend born? What makes a legend? Is it possible for us to manufacture one today? Well, yes, we can. A form of modern legend is any of the urban myths, or rather modern day story characters that are used as vessels for ideas. For example, the left attempted to manufacture a legend from Harry Potter. This thankfully failed. But even though it failed, it does not stop the left from using the analogy to create a narrative and paradigm. The left has found themselves incapable of forming this new legend because they have no set of standards which this legend may embody. Or do they? Maybe they do already have a legend. The left might seem to have no standards or legend, but this is not entirely true. When talking to a leftist outside the rabid selves, you'll find that they have reasons for why they do things, and rules to their morality. Their legend is a mutated form of David versus Goliath. However, in their story, David has no tools to defeat Goliath, and therefore needs a hero to save him from Goliath's wrath. Their feigned legend is that of the defenseless banding together to fight the great evil of tyranny, the bottom trying to rise up, the socialist revolutionary. However, their most potent legend, and the one they most often fall back on, is the child or family denied humanity, denied help. This takes the form of talking about the Holocaust or simply refugees in general. This also translates to their talk of equality between the sexes. Generally speaking, they do have a legend, and it takes many forms. It is the victim of 1,000 faces. So how does this legend work? We have already explained what it embodies, but how does it work? What is its function? The legend of the victim of 1,000 faces seeks to extract the primal attribute of human empathy and to use it as a call to action, a call to help and save the helpless, a rallying cry. More often than not, leftist marches are marred with banners and signs with the faces of the oppressed, and if the left could have a single picture on their banner, it would be that of the family running away. This is a rallying cry. That is the core of their call for diversity, which in reality is a call for solidarity with those that have been wronged or hurt. A call for common decency to let them in, to save them, to not devalue their lives and their experience. If they can let them into their country, then they can save them. The sole function as such of this legend is a call to action, and it is one that was even echoed by many statesmen and women of the left. Why? Because it works. It embodies the leftist morality and dogma. It is their set of morals and grants a face to their movement. It makes their movement and what they are fighting for real and physical. This legend was born as a result of searching for a face that was compassionate. It was a result of millions of dollars poured into advertising and priming people for empathy and sympathy. It was the result of hundreds of thousands of hours of propaganda streamed straight through the televisions that sit in each and every citizen's home. It left most leftists thinking that Africa is a village continent of poor oppressed victims of the white man. This is absolutely not true, and some African countries are doing quite well, and all under the rule of native Africans. However, this is irrelevant to the legend. The legend is based on the idea of helplessness and the necessity for saving them from their circumstance that they are an active victim of. As such, all refugees are essentially innocent children. There is no burden of responsibility on them for their condition. To spread, the legend needs a medium. With its function established, it has a goal and an effect that is guaranteed. As such, this propaganda was cast as what many saw as advertisements in food drives in their schools, to help the poor African children or migrant children or the disparaged. This, however, is a major manipulation of reality, but it worked. Millions poured cans, clothes, sponsorships, etc. out from their hearts to help those who are defenseless and not responsible for their circumstance. Millions were called to action because a victim was in need, and so they acted. This propaganda, or rather legend, did not spread on its own. Rather, it was spread firstly by television, then by regular people. After television broadcasts ended, the campaign's pressure shifted to schools to pressure parents into participating, feeling good through their children. However, this medium was not as effective, and so more often this became a topic of discussion. The legend passed by word of mouth, passed through many initiatives and billboards promoted by small organizations and nonprofits, until it had encompassed the entire US, then the entire Western civilization. Nowhere was safe from this legend, and each time the story became more and more dire, until the legend had solidified itself as the victim of 1,000 faces. Everyone and anyone could be a victim, and victims were never responsible for their own circumstances. Victims needed to be helped. The legend, interestingly enough, became a rallying cry of more than one Democratic Party member. However, its effects even seeped through into the right. Civic nationalists, or more accurately civic cucks, adopted the legend and used it for their own purposes. Neocons used it to spread democracy and freedom over the bodies of thousands. Meanwhile, civic cucks used it as an excuse to accept migrants and to feel good. Their flag was still painted with the face of a starving African child in need of help, for whom they will gladly provide. As such, the legend spread far beyond its intended borders, and this demonstrates the effectiveness of manufacturing and forming a legend. It rallied everyone, right and left. It mutated everyone's perception, and to stand against the legend was to stand against the movement and those that compromise it. It was to stand against human decency. As such, those that oppose it are labeled fascist, Nazis, their embodiment of discrimination, of tyranny. This is another legend that was manufactured by the left. This is more than warping words. This is once again manufacturing a Goliath. As long as the left has their own legend and we do not, we cannot hope to gain victory or any sort of glory or success. Rather, we can only expect to be demonized or defeated at every turn because there is no face or metaphysical form to our ideology. A flag is not enough to bind people together because behind that flag there must be a face. The flag is an abstract symbol that stands for certain values and a people, but those people need a face. They need a legend. They need their own David versus Goliath. The left has their victim of 1,000 faces versus the tyrant. Now we need our own. We must establish who our hero is, what he stands for, and what he must embody. The hero must be region-specific. He must embody certain values and target a certain spirit that his image and likeness will manufacture. This will also change the culture and how one goes about his life, having this hero in mind. The more ancient the hero, the better, or rather, the more ancient the values he represents, the themes, the archetypes, the better. I propose for Slavic countries the likeness of the bogatyr, and the symbol of the Caucasian ovcharka. A defender of his flock, humble and yet powerful, a bear in human form. He takes care of his people, his family above all else. He feeds his children and shows strength when needed. He will keep his family safe at all costs. He will raise up the weakest of his kin. He will care for the sick. He is bearded and he is wise. There is no sacrifice too great for him to pay to ensure the well-being of his family. What values does he embody? Strength, unity, family, duty, discipline, order, safety. He is the bogatyr. He is the ovcharka.